Hello friends, I am here today with a highly entertaining poem written by John Donne titled The Sunne Rising. Now this poem is a poem that has that has many features of now this poem is classified as a metaphysical poem, and it undoubtedly displays many characteristic features of metaphysical poetry. Right from the opening lines, where the poet employs the technique called shock tactic. Now that was a term given later by the critics, I guess, not by Donne himself. So he employs this shock tactic right at the beginning of the poem, and it's highly entertaining, I say, because when you picture it in your mind, it kind of is very funny too. Now let me tell you about the situation of the poem so that you too will understand why I'm saying that it's funny. Because here we have a lover and his lady love. They have spent the night together and now it's early morning. They are still together. They haven't parted their ways and he hasn't gone out of the room. And at that time, the sun, very unsuspecting, the sun as usual comes into the room. The sun is S-U-N, sun, okay? The sun in the sky comes into the room, and maybe through the window he slowly comes in. And this lover gets so angry that he starts scolding, chiding the sun. He gives him, as you would say, he fires him left and right, and he asks him, who asked you to come in right here now? Who gave you the permission to come here? And he scolds the sun. And when I read this poem, I always see it in my mind of the sun coming into the room, and suddenly the sun is caught in a shock because somebody is shouting at him, asking him why he came, and the poor sun is all insulted and he's humiliated. He doesn't know what to do. He's standing there embarrassed, not knowing how to go back, and so he has to listen to the whole tirade of this very frustrated lover. So that is why I said it's a highly entertaining poem. You can look at it as a very humorous poem too, though I don't think Donne intended it to be a funny poem. So now let us look at the poem. Now this poem has 3 stanzas, and just 3 stanzas. I'll just read the poem once to you quickly. So the opening lines. Busy old fool, unruly sun, why dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? Must to thy motions lovers' seasons run? Saucy pedantic wretch, go chide late schoolboys and sour apprentices. Go tell court huntsmen that the king will ride. Call country ants to harvest offices. Love all like, no season knows nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. Thy beams, so reverent and strong, why shouldst thou think I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink? But that I would not lose her sight so long. If her eyes have not blinded thine, look, and tomorrow late tell me whether both the Indias of spice and mine be where thou left'st them, or lie here with me. Ask for those kings whom thou sawest yesterday, and thou shalt hear all here in one bed lay. She is all states and all princes, aye, nothing else is. Princes do but play us, compared to this all honours mimic, all wealth alchemy. Thou, sun, art half as happy as we, in that the world's contracted thus. Thine age asks ease, and since thy duties be to warm the world, that's done in warming us. Shine here to us, and thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere. Okay, so that is the poem, The Sunne Rising. Now the first stanza. So I already told you the sun is peeping into the room where these two lovers are together, and the lover is scolding him. He calls him busy old fool, unruly son. Now this is what is called a shock tactic, because you don't expect this kind of an opening for a poem, and especially you don't expect the sun to be treated in this manner, because generally the sun is considered to be the center of the universe. The sun is considered to be the life giver, and always treated in glorious manner. And here the very same sun is called a busy old fool, unruly son. Why dost thou thus through windows and through curtains call on us? So he says, now who asked you to come here? Why do you come here through windows and through curtains? Who asked you to come here? That's the question. And so busy, why is he busy? Because he is all over the place. He has to go to many places. The son is naturally busy. Unruly here, disobedient. Okay, and must to the emotions lovers cease and run. So he says, do you think that everybody has to obey you, and especially lovers? Do we have to do things according to your movement? Motions here, movement. So lovers' seasons means the lovers' time. Do you think that you control the lovers' time? The lovers can be together as long as they want. You don't have to come in here and tell us that it is dawn. So must to the emotions lovers' seasons run. And then again he goes on, he's so irritated, he's so angry, because maybe these people are clandestine lovers, maybe they're having a secret affair, and at dawn he has to leave the lover and go off, and he doesn't want to leave her. So all that irritation, that frustration comes out in his tirade against the sun. So he goes on ranting at the sun. He says, saucy pedantic wretch. Pedantic is somebody, a pedant is a scholar, but here he means somebody who is very showy, and he calls him a wretch. Saucy is somebody who's kind of bossy, somebody who goes and intervenes in places where they are not expected to. And so here the sun is being saucy, he says, just like that, without even knocking, coming into a room. So that kind of anger, okay? Saucy, pedantic wretch. He says, if you are so intent on spreading your light everywhere and announcing that the day has come, there are so many other people you should go and wake up, not us. And then he gives a list of people the sun should go and awaken from their slumber. He says, go chide late schoolboys and sour apprentices. So chide, that is, you go and scold schoolboys who are late, schoolboys who don't like to wake up in the morning, schoolboys who are still in bed without going to school. So go and scold them. Or sour apprentice. Apprentice here is just apprentice. I guess John Donne must have cut the word short, apprentice, in order to keep the rhyme pattern, the rhythm pattern of the line, the metrical pattern of the line. Sour apprentices means apprentices. You know what an apprentice is? Somebody who, like today we speak about internship, isn't it? Before you get into a real job, you work or you get trained under somebody who is more experienced. So that kind of training is called apprenticeship. So those days it was very common. You must have heard of the guilds, the trade guilds in the Elizabethan time. And so if a person had to start a trade on his own, he had to be an apprenticeship with some established artisan first. And only after he approves and says that this man he can now launch independently, only then he could do it. So there were many apprentices those days. And so he says there might be apprentices who are sour, means who don't want to go to work. You go and call them. Okay, go and wake them up. Go tell court huntsmen that the king will ride. Court huntsmen are the men who are supposed to accompany the king for the hunting expedition. So go and tell them that the king will ride, so that they will also get up in the morning. So some days the king would want to go hunting, and so he's telling the son, the poet is telling the son, go and tell the court huntsmen that the king will ride today, so go and wake them up. Call country ants to harvest offices. Country ants only means peasants or farmers who work in the fields. So go and call them and remind them, tell them that it is harvest time. And so what he's telling is, there are so many other people who you should go and awaken and go and tell them that it is early morning. Just let us be here. Leave us alone. Love all alike, no seasons knows nor clime, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. So he says, for lovers there is no difference in time, day or night, whatever climate it is, whatever season it is. The only thing that matters to lovers is that they are together. That's why he says, love all alike, no season knows nor clime. Clime is climate. Whether it's rainy season, whether it is hot, whether it is cold, none of that matters to lovers who are so engrossed in each other. So love doesn't know seasons, love doesn't know climates. Love is not bothered about hours and days and months, which are the rags of time. I guess those of who are listening to me, those people who have been in love or who are in love, you know that when you are in love with somebody, you are not at all aware of the passage of time. These days, because we have the phone, you know that you can spend hours and hours talking to your beloved person. Sometimes entire nights you would spend. You wouldn't even know that it is morning. So that is the magic that love plays on lovers. And so that is what he says here. No hours, nor hours, days, months, which are the rags of time. So he just reduces time to nothing. He just understates. So he says these are all rags, pieces of time. So here we can say that this is an example of this literary device called litote, L-I-T-O-T-E, litote. You know what that means? Litote is understating things, diminishing the importance of something, making something look as if it is unimportant. So here, usually, you know that in poems, time is expressed as something very important, something that cannot be conquered, something that is always after us, something that man is afraid of. But here he just dismisses time as if it's a rag. He just throws it away and says that I don't bother about time. Who are you to come here and tell me that it is morning? This doesn't affect me. So that is the idea. So remember that this can be considered as an example of a litote or an understatement, which is, I think, the opposite of hyperbole. Hyperbole is an overstatement. You exaggerate something and make it sound many times more important or bigger than it actually is. So hyperbole is the opposite of litote. And okay, so that is what happens in stanza 1. He's so angry, he's shouting at the sun, and the poor son is standing there not knowing how to react to this angry tirade. Now the second stanza. It's still not over, he's still angry. Okay, so he says, thy beams so reverent and strong, why shouldst thou think? So he asks the son, you think your beams are very strong? You think you are so reverent? Reverent means worthy of respect. So who do you think you are? That is actually the question. Okay, so why do you think that your beams are so strong and so reverent that everybody should respect your beams and your brightness and your light? Who asked you to think that way? I could eclipse and cloud them with a wink, but that I would not lose a sight so long. So he says, I can easily shut you out. I just have to close my eyes and you are gone. You think you're very important. So let me tell you, you are not important. I just, with a wink, you know, is just a closing of an eye for just a split second. So I can just eclipse you. I can cloud you. I can just dispel you from here with a wink of my eye, because the moment I close my eye, there is darkness and you are shut out. So, that's all. That's all the importance that you have. You might think you are somebody great, but you are not. I can shut you out easily, but then I won't do it. Why is it that I won't do it? Because I don't want to lose her sight so long. So he says, I can easily shut you out, but I am not doing it now, because if I close my eyes even for a second, for that 1 second, I won't be able to see the beautiful face of my lover. That's the only reason why I don't close my eyes. Okay, isn't that very funny? So he says, but just look at the thought, isn't it? You know that what this man is saying is true to a certain extent. You just have to close your eyes to shut all brightness out. But then look at the passion that has made him speak thus. Now, do you agree with me that this is highly entertaining? Okay, so let's go on. So he says, so I will not close my eyes because I want to keep seeing her. I don't want to lose sight of her even for a small period of time. And then, now he tells the sun, if her eyes have not blinded thine, look, and tomorrow late tell me whether both the Indias of spice and mine be where thou left'st them, or lie here with me. So he says, now you listen to me, okay? And if her eyes have not blinded thine, that is, my lover's eyes are so bright, so much more brighter than you, and if you have not become blind by her brightness, just look at that audacity, okay? Him telling the sun that if you have not gone blind by the beauty and the brilliance of my lover's face, then he says, look, you just look around. You will be going to many places, just go and look around. And tomorrow late, okay, tomorrow, and that too late, don't come barging in early morning like this. When you come tomorrow, come a little late and tell me whether both the Indias. So he says, he kind of orders the sun and he challenges the sun. He tells him, just go your rounds. You will be doing rounds now, go all over. And tomorrow when you come here, come and give me a report. Tell me whether the Indias that you left there are still there. Indias of spice and mine, he refers to the two Indias. India of spice is our India. India, because India is known for its spices, and India of the mines is West Indies, because West Indies was supposed to be highly rich in minerals. So India of spice is India, and India of mines is the West Indies. And so go and come and tell me tomorrow whether both those places are there where you left them, or lie here with me, or whether they will still be there, or tomorrow when you come back here, they are going to be here with me. I'll explain that further. Ask for those kings whom thou sawest yesterday, and thou shalt hear all here in one bed lay. And so when you go around, just inquire about all the kings that you have seen in all these past days. Yesterday you must have seen many kings in many places. Just go and find out. Today when you're going around the world, just find out whether all those kings are there, those who were there yesterday, and then you will find out that they're all here with me in this one bed. In this bed where I and my lover are here, you will find all of them here in this bed. Okay, in the third stanza he says, she is all states and all princes I, nothing else is. Oh, have you ever come across something like this? She is all states and all princes I, nothing else is. So John Donne is making a declaration that my lover is all the states in this world. She is the whole universe, and I am the only king, the only prince in this whole world. There is nothing else existing in this world. Now this is an example of a hyperbole or an overstatement. Just like I told you earlier that a hyperbole is just the opposite of light toti, because here this lover, he is so full of love with this lady that he feels that nothing else in this world matters. That is why he says, she is all states and all princes I. And that is why he said in the previous stanza, tomorrow when you go there, India of spices and India of the mind will not be there. Then where will they be? They will be here. Because she is all the states, the whole world. She is a representation of the whole world. And tomorrow you will not find any of the princes and the kings. Why? Because they are all me. They are all rolled into one. So she is all states and all princes I. Nothing else is. Now here you have this idea of how when a person is in love, he is totally in oblivion of the rest of the world. You don't think of your parents, you don't think of your friends, you don't think of your job, you forget your studies. You are kind of obsessed with this one passion called love. And the only person that matters to you is this lover. And so this is exactly why people leave their families. When you are in love, sometimes you leave your parents and go off with somebody you love. And this is another reason why people kill for love, because they are so obsessed with love that they cannot think of an existence without this person. All that matters to them is love and the lover. So she is all states and all princes I. So the whole world will be contracted into one single place, and that one place is this room here. Okay? She is all states and all princes I. Nothing else is. Princes do but play us. Compared to this, all honors mimic, all wealth alchemy. So he says, nothing else in the world is worth. Princes do but play us. Play us means imitate us. Compared to this, all honors mimic. Mimic here, mimicry, or it is kind of worthless. It is just an imitation. All wealth is alchemy. And what is alchemy? Alchemy in the Middle Ages was a branch of chemistry where it was believed that an alchemist could, it was kind of part magic and part chemistry, where an alchemist could transform any base metal into gold. Any base metal, like silver or bronze or anything, could be transformed into gold through alchemy. So he says, all wealth alchemy means all riches are worthless compared to what I have now. I have the greatest, the costliest, the most prized possession with me. And what is that? My love and my lover. Everything else is worthless. Thou sun art half as happy as we, in that the world's contracted thus. Thine age seeks ease, and since thy duties be to warm the world, that's done in warming us. So he says, thou sun art half as happy as we, in that the world's contracted thus. So he says that you are not half, you are so much less happier than us. Because for us the whole world is here. For us the whole world has been condensed into these two people. So we are so much happier than you. You go around the world and that gives you happiness. But we are here, just the two of us, but we are so much more happy. Thine age asks ease, and since thy duties be to warm the world, that is done in warming us. Okay, so that line, he says, you are pretty old now because you have been here for centuries. So your age asks ease means you should take things a little more easier, or at least you should take some rest now, because in this age, rest is what you need, or taking things easy is what you should do. Okay, so he tells the sun to relax, okay, to take things easy, and remember that you're old now, and so go easy on things. And what is your primary duty? It is to warm the world. So you do one thing, just warm the two of us. Be here today, warm the two of us. You know, we are the world itself, all contracted into one. So if you warm us, the whole world will be warmed. So he's talking about a microcosm of these two lovers as opposed to the macrocosm of the whole universe. Okay, and he says, shine here to us, and thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere. So you don't have to go anywhere else. You just shine here. Now that you have come here, it is true that I was angry with you, I scolded you, everything is fine. But since you are here, and you being an old man, just don't bother roaming around all over the world. You just remain here and warm us, shine here to us. And if you shine here on us, it is equal to shining all over. Shine here to us, thou art everywhere. This bed thy center is, these walls thy sphere. So this bed is going to be the center, and these walls are going to be your sphere. And it is said that according to the cosmological system of Ptolemy, you must have heard of Ptolemy, the ancient astronomer. According to his system of cosmology, the sun actually went around the earth. The earth was in the center and the sun went around, it was believed. So I think that is the idea that Donne is also using here. Consider this bed the center, or consider this bed the earth, and you just go around the bed. That would be equal to going around in the sphere. Here means the orbit. Okay, so that is the poem, The Sun Rising, and I hope you will agree with me that it is a highly interesting poem, very entertaining one. And so now let us, and there is this critic Jean Bennett who has said about this poem that it is a successful fusion of wit and passion. Don't you agree? A successful fusion of wit and passion. Wit here is intelligence, bright and a brilliant imagination, and at the same time passion. Both have been blended together, a successful fusion. And the same critic Jean Bennett also says about Donne that he rescued English love poetry from the monotony which was threatening to engulf it at the end of the 16th century. I agree. I totally agree with Jean Bennett, because those days when everybody was talking about lovers, the same old stories, and lovers, as I always keep telling in my earlier videos, lovers being compared to flowers, and the sun and the moon and all that. Here it is such a fresh way that John Donne deals with love in his poems, this one and his other love poems. So very novel in their approach and in the treatment of this theme of love. And now looking at the themes, basically it is of course love, and how love is an all engulfing passion. And then again there is this idea of confinement and openness. The sun represents openness, the whole world. The lovers express confinement. And there is again this idea which I mentioned earlier, the microcosm, a small world which contains everything of these two lovers, and the macrocosm of the world and the countries and the different Indias and the kings, the big world around which the sun goes, how all that is contracted into one single room. And again, whenever I read this poem, you know, sometimes when you read something, you kind of get all kind of connections in your mind. So when I read this, though it doesn't have much of a connection, I'm always reminded of the story in Hindu mythology. You must be familiar with it, the story of how there was a fruit that was, there was just one single fruit that was offered to both Ganesha and Kartikeya, the two brothers, the two sons of Shiva and Parvati. And so there was and it was said that whoever goes around the world once and comes back can get the fruit or can eat the fruit. And immediately Kartikeya got onto his peacock, which is his what would you say, his official carrier, and he went around the world, the real world. He went around the world. And what did the clever Ganesha do? He just walked around his parents, because according to the Hindu way of belief, your mother and father are the world to you. They are the most important people to you. Okay, so what he did was he just walked around the bed, and so they gave him the fruit, because technically what he did too was right. And then we have Kartikeya coming back after. Quickly he went all around the world and he came back for the fruit, and he found, to his great shock, that Ganesha was already eating it, and he was very angry, and nothing could justify what had happened, and he wouldn't agree to anything that they said, and he got angry and he went off, and all that. All those stories are there. So whenever I read this particular poem, somehow that story also comes to my mind, about this room and this one bed being the whole universe. As I told you, the contexts are very, very different, but then somehow the idea, there is something similar. Then again there is this the inner world and the outer world, and there is this individual and the society outside, and the individuals, the two individuals who are cloistered inside. So all these things are there in this poem. Another thing I think I should have mentioned earlier, but better late than never. Now this poem can also be considered as an Aubade, A-U-B-A-D-E. An Aubade is a poem about lovers awakening at dawn. This can come under that category too, because here too, though it's quite unconventional, and I guess Aubades are generally supposed to be very, very romantic, and maybe they would talk about each other, but here it is different. But even then, in this connection, at least you can remember that there is a category of poems called the Aubade, about lovers awakening at dawn. So looking at it that way, this is an Aubade, but albeit a very unconventional kind of an Aubade. And what else to mention? Yes, I have taken ideas. There is an essay by Eric Otto, which gave me a lot of inputs that I have used in this lecture. It is from his essay that I got this idea of this microcosm and the macrocosm and all those things. So, and also another entry by Steph Burt in poetryfoundation.org. I'll put the link to both these sites in the description box, so that you can also go and access it and read it. What else to be mentioned? Yes, yet another thing is that here too, as in many of the poems of the earlier times, see, today we live in a world where we are very much aware of gender differences, and we are very, very gender sensitive, and we believe that people should be given a lot of people shouldn't be discriminated on the basis of gender, and most of us are familiar with feminist theories. So here again, this poem too, when you look at it that way, it can raise objections from that perspective, because for the woman to be considered as the state, and the man to be considered the master. So people might tend to object to the idea of the woman considered as inferior, or the slave, and the man being the master. Okay, so that is another way of looking at the poem, but looking at it from with contemporary eyes, because those days I don't think these people were very much bothered about ideas like equality to women and such things. So he was just following a convention of his society. But for those who are interested, of course, that is another way in which you can interpret this poem. There have been many interpretations in that direction too. So I guess I have told you almost everything that I wanted to tell you about the poem. So hope you enjoyed this lecture on the poem, The Sunne Rising. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed giving you this lecture.